There it is. It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, we're the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency channel. We take old, boring, and stale information, and we lasso that whole thing up and giddy up. We're going to Nashville. David is not here today, but you got Big Rob. I will be corralling this show up and taking us to Nashville after this, going straight to the airport when I leave the studio, be landing in Nashville at 7 p.m. So if you are going to be in attendance, come say what's up, come hang out. I do have a couple people joining us as well. We'll get into that in a minute, but we got the production team. Also, we got Forrest. Today, we're going to talk about, the spill off in the markets. Ethereum selling, it sold a lot. And, the markets in general sold a lot too. Bitcoin's down. And this is the normal playbook when it comes to the Bitcoin convention and the price of Bitcoin. We've seen historically prices downturn, but is it short-term sustained, or are we going to have a quick bounce back to new all-time highs? We're going to have some big speakers down in Nashville we're really excited to talk to. We got Donald Trump. Will we have a one-on-one exclusive interview with Donald Trump? Probably not, but I'm going to try anyways. And then we also got the likes of RFK, and there's a whole list of speakers that we're very excited to go talk to. Now, we also have the meme coin market, which is not playing out exactly as we expected. And then lastly, we have a country that is putting IDs, your driver's license, basically, on the blockchain. Which blockchain did they choose? Which country is it? Well, we'll get into all of that and much, much more on the flip side of this crazy intro graphic. Hola! Wow, that intro graphic is so crazy, huh? I've been looking to update that thing. Also, on the ones and twos back there, we got Gravy Train and Chase. I know you love the name Gravy Train. And then also, because we won't be here in studio tomorrow, we usually have Forrest Friday. We brought Forrest on a day early. So today's show is you're going to get the two of us, the most handsome individuals in all of the crypto land. Do you like my hat? I'm preparing for Nashville. And so I figure Pat's Blue Ribbon, cowboy hat. What else do you need, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a hit down there. It's going to be very popular.
Yeah, man, I am so amped up. The list grows and grows. And, the fact that Trump is headlining it or decided to join the convention kind of last minute really made things interesting, right? And, what we've seen from Trump before is him speaking at rallies and he'll briefly talk about Bitcoin. It's usually in the form of about a sentence, maybe two sentences. He's said, hey, he wants to, have America build Bitcoin, or all the Bitcoin made in America. Not exactly sure he understands mining, but doesn't matter. He's behind Bitcoin, so we're behind any candidate that will progressively regulate Bitcoin, because I think that's the big problem here with the United States, is that we've regulated crypto out of the United States and overseas. Pretty excited to hear about any announcements. And Trump is expected to speak on Saturday, and so have them long positions or short positions if you think it's going to be a underwhelming news announcement. But I think that we're going to have some juicy info. But before I get too far ahead of myself, Forrest, how you doing, man? I know the markets kind of sold off. It wasn't necessarily like a big crash or giant liquidations in the form of billions of dollars, but we did see a quite significant pullback. And also, we went from about 67,000 down to 64 briefly, but this also was in conjunction with the regular U.S. markets, or Wall Street. They had the biggest down day since 2022. And so no surprise, we also saw a big sell-off in in Bitcoin. And I think a lot of people are just simply saying, hey, this grayscale selling on ETH is the reason that crypto is down. I don't think it's, I think you got to zoom out a little bit. I think that the overall markets, Wall Street, just had a big red day, and I think that it took crypto with it. What do you think about the market movements that we've had in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, I think it's been a ton of different factors. The main driver, in my belief, has been the weakness in the traditional finance market, only in not only just in the S&P 500, but risk assets across the board, right? So you've got silver and gold that have just been destroyed, just really tons of volatility to the downside on precious metals that have been holding up extraordinarily well. You've had the S&P 500, get washed out yesterday. You had Nasdaq down like 3.5%. And part of that is due to what's happened is we've had a big push up in the stock market. So it's kind of quote unquote due for a correction anyways. Stuff was a little bit overvalued, lots of unrealized profit on the table for companies to book profits. But you also had we've had like this condensing of the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, and in that, like, the companies that have done really well and are now comprising most of the value in those indexes are Nvidia, Apple, into like stuff that's very dependent on chips manufacturing. And Taiwan and China and the chips industry has kind of gotten hit with some back-to-back bad news. I think the Biden administration imposing some restrictions or regulations regarding semiconductors in and out of China. And then you also had a typhoon hit Taiwan. So, like, just kind of across the board, just a really bad time for the stock market. And then on top of that, you've got Mount Gox coins moving, getting distributed, which has been a big fear for a very long time. And you've also got the, of course, as you mentioned, the Grayscale ETH. There's $9 billion in that Grayscale Ethereum trust that has been converted into an ETF at a very high fee. And a lot of that's being sold off. And it's actually being sold off at a much higher pace than what we saw with the Grayscale Bitcoin. I think that out of that $9 billion, we've already seen $500 million in the first 2 days move out. And I wouldn't be surprised to see more move today. So it's just been a lot of overhead conditions. I'm actually surprised at how well crypto is holding up despite the stock market sell off, the precious metal sell off, and then all of the Mount Gox and the Grayscale ETH selling off.
If you were to tell me that Bitcoin is going to have a correction and that the markets are going to bleed off, and you mentioned 3% on Nasdaq, if you were to tell me that, I'd say, hey man, you know what? We're probably going to be testing 60K as a support, and the fact that we just dipped down to 64,000, not even for 12 hours. I think it was probably like 6 or 7 hours under 65K. I think it shows the resiliency of Bitcoin. I think it shows that the markets are expecting Bitcoin to get back on track and get back to those 70K mark, perhaps breaking a new all-time high. I do think there's a lot of anticipation coming for the Bitcoin conference, and the fact that we had a former president, and the polls are saying likely a future president, Donald Trump, that is going to be speaking at length about crypto. And I know you mentioned that we have the Mount Gox has been selling. So Mount Gox, I know Kraken came out and said that they had dispersed all of the Mount Gox Bitcoin back to the people that they're issuing it to. But maybe that's not over. If you're in the camp that Mount Gox is going to flood the market with Bitcoin, increasing downside sell pressure, they still have 90,000 Bitcoin valued about $6 billion. So even though Kraken has come out and said that they've moved all their Bitcoin out, Mount Gox still has 90,000. So I would still expect going up until Saturday. Remember, it is Thursday, and so we still have enough. You have all of today, you have tomorrow, you have early Saturday morning. I do think that with this Bitcoin here and with the lack of any bullish narrative, you could see Bitcoin slip a little further. I do think that that 60K mark is going to be that major support level. Do we even go down there? I'm not exactly sure, but I feel comfortable with that. And I'm just telling you, I think that this Bitcoin conference, I think, is going to buck the trend, because historically we've seen Bitcoin sell off during these conventions. I think it's because people are just really anticipating giant news, which has just been under delivered in the past. And I think this time, I think the narrative just can't be shaken if the world's largest economy, the U.S., comes out and drops the mic with their position on Bitcoin. Now, I do want to say that the conference kicks off today. Now, it's not open to the public today, but this is the industry day in Nashville. So you're getting the precursor, right? The little preview. You can go check out the booth if you have the upgraded pass, or if you're part of the media. So, of course, Trump is headlining it. You also have Kathy Wood, Michael Saylor, have RFK, another presidential candidate there. There was talks about Kamala Harris joining as well. She wanted to join via Zoom call. They said, you need to show up in person if you want to attend the conference. And you have RFK down in Nashville, and he just had a sit down with Scott Melker with Wolf of Wall Street, and also Caitlin Long, who is the CEO of Custodia Bank. Just a quick snippet of some of the conversations they had there. I'll just
do a kind of a basket of hard currencies, of maybe platinum and gold and other hard currencies, and begin issuing at least a class of treasury bills that are anchored to hard currency, let's say the first year by 1%, and then maybe the next year by 2%, and to watch how that goes, because that will inject a discipline into the product and ultimately get up to 100%.
So I won't play this whole thing, but you have one of the presidential candidates coming out here and saying that, hey, you want to issue out T-bills and basically back U.S. bonds by commodities, and particularly throwing Bitcoin and other cryptos into the mix. And you know what? Why not start this thing instead of yellowing in and saying, hey, we're issuing T-bills backed by Bitcoin from top to bottom? Hey, let's start with 1%, 2%. And the fact that, you have a major candidate here saying this, I think this is a preview of what's to come. I think that we'll also find similar narratives echoed with Donald Trump and other congressional members. Another one here, you have Cynthia Lummis. And so here you have Lummis is planning to announce legislation for strategic Bitcoin reserve at Nashville conference. The hope is that Donald Trump will endorse the bill and the idea behind it this weekend. And, you think about that. And then also, if this is announced, so Cynthia Lummis plans to announce this bill to back, for the U.S. to back Bitcoin, or, to have it in its treasury in some sort, or strategic reserve. And she's hopeful that, with Trump being there, he's going to also jump on the bandwagon and also say, hey, this is a bill that I'm behind, that I want to pass. And then, mainstream
Bitcoin,
media,
by the way, also higher by more than 1% today, after the former president appears to have changed his tune on the digital currency this election cycle. Back in 2019, let's recall, he said, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. Again, this was the president in a tweet from 2019. Well, fast forward to last month. While campaigning for president once again, he's presented himself as a champion of Bitcoin after posting this on Truth Social, quote, vote for Trump, Bitcoin mining may be our last line of defense against a central bank digital currency. Biden's hatred of Bitcoin only helps China, Russia, and the radical communist left. We all want the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA. It will help us be energy dominant. This Saturday, Trump is scheduled to speak at the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville, where rumors are swirling that he will announce plans to make Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. Ahead of that, Dom Chu has a look.
So there's that. And then one final announcement, and then we're kind of just discuss all of the anticipation and what do you expect if you do get a policy change or a stance change when it comes to Bitcoin and the U.S., especially on T-bills and also in the reserve, as strategic reserve. So Marathon had a big announcement today. And so Marathon is proud to announce that it's strengthened our strategy over holding Bitcoin as a strategic treasury reserve asset. Over the past month, Marathon has bought $100 million worth of Bitcoin. They're going full hodl, and they even tagged Michael Saylor here. And so, we've gotten accustomed to miners mining and then selling to cover overhead. And we've always talked about, hey, miners are going to hold for, price to go up and then sell at a higher profit. Obviously, if you're in the early stages of a bull market, you're just looking at past cycles. You mine Bitcoin now at 60,000. It'd be safe to assume that probably within the next 6 to 12 months, Bitcoin will probably be valued higher than it is now at the 60K range. And that's something we've seen historically. But what we haven't seen is a miner come out and say, hey, we're just going to buy and set this aside with no intention of selling. This isn't a company that is like, hey, we want to take some capital on the side. They're mining Bitcoin and then just basically putting it in their back pocket for the long term. Forrest, I'll kind of get your reactions here. What do you think? I'll start with this. What do you think the markets will look like? And I know this is more speculative than anything else, but what do you think the markets, crypto markets, Bitcoin markets, even altcoin markets, how do you think they're going to react if Donald Trump goes up to the stage following Cynthia Lummis, announcing that she's going to have a strategic reserve for Bitcoin with the U.S. and Donald Trump says, "Hey, you know what? We like that. We're behind that bill. We're gonna back it. I'm gonna make sure it passes." What do you think that does for the crypto markets?
Yeah, if it's all-out support like that from Donald Trump on that bill, all-time highs pretty quickly. I think that's like the case for just teleporting to 80,000 plus. It'd be extraordinarily bullish, and then the closer we get to the election, and the better Donald Trump polls. After at that point, Bitcoin's price is just going to be in line with the confidence of him getting elected, right? If he drops in the polls, Bitcoin would drop in the polls. If he rises in the polls, Bitcoin price would rise as well. That would be like the single biggest bullish thing that could possibly happen for Bitcoin. Like there is no, like that is end game for Bitcoin being a strategic reserve asset for nation states. Not only, nations globally, but, the United States, one of the largest, most productive nations in the world. So I think we'd get all-time highs rather quickly. And that is really the thing that you want to be paying attention to at the Bitcoin conference is pay attention to Trump's speech. If he mentions, in a positive manner, that he's behind Bitcoin being a strategic reserve asset, that is like all systems go very, very bullish. Otherwise, we could just be sitting through more chop like we have been.
I'm just dumbfounded about, the situation that we're even in right now. I feel like this was loose rumors and kind of like bullish delusion that Bitcoin maxis could have had say 6 months ago, right? And even the thought of like, hey, the US is going to come out and say we're going to strategically back our currency. We're going to instruct the treasury to buy Bitcoin and hold it. We're going to issue out T-bills and back it with Bitcoin. We're going like that in itself, just that whole idea seems so native to me. It seems so alien that we're even discussing this with what seems now not only a rumor, but likelihood and the probability of it seems that much more real. I would actually be more surprised if we don't get a stance that lines up with this narrative from Donald Trump, and then if he just kind of punted, right? If he just simply said, "Hey, I want Bitcoin to be made in America. We want to stop over regulating it." If he just says that, then I think it's underwhelming, right? But what I expect is Trump to, feed on that polarizing crowd that you're going to have, 30 to 40,000 people in attendance, all kind of at the end of their chair waiting for him to say exactly this. And he knows when he does announce that narrative for the US, or the change in stance with the US when it comes to crypto, I think that in itself is going to rally the markets. I'm very curious to see how high it will go. Now, you were expecting it to teleport straight to 80,000 or all-time highs. I 100% agree. What kind of candles will we get? Will they be on the one day? Will it be will it take a week for it to get there? That I'm not quite too sure, but I do think that it's going to be very interesting. I don't know. I'm excited. Now, one thing that I want, we started talking about here was Ethereum, and the Ethereum ETF being, had some big outflows. So taking a look, the spot ETFs posted $113 million in outflows on the second day of the launch. Now, Grayscale sold a boatload of Ethereum. So they had $326 million of outflows. This was a net outflow day. And, this is, if you were to add the two up, we are at $811 million in outflows. Not surprised. I know that the fee on the ETH product by Grayscale is sitting at 2.5. So anyone that had the intention of selling, they're just going to go ahead and do that now and then move over to another custodial agent. We did see net inflows in the positive sector. I think it was 113 million yesterday. But also, this coming from Wall Street, and we had some research done by a firm there on Wall Street saying that, well, traditional money, Wall Street doesn't really understand Ethereum. This is per 10x research. Don't think I had anything. No, I don't have anything highlighted here. But, research poll comes out saying that, hey, these guys on Wall Street don't really get Ethereum. And is that going to be a cause for them not to invest? And, Wall Street has, in some instances shied away from technology it doesn't really understand. But what do you think is going to be the position of Wall Street for the people that don't get it? Do you think that it's a more leveraged play for traditional money where they say, hey, you know what? We made some money on Bitcoin, or we understand that crypto is the new area of finance. Bitcoin makes sense. Digital gold. Ethereum, well, you got to sit down and kind of explain it to somebody like, hey, well, smart contract tokenization. For people that have no experience in crypto, you probably lose them right there before you even get any further. Do you think that Wall Street is going to come in and buy Ethereum this bull market? Because day one, we saw 20% of the volume and right around 20% of the inflows for Ethereum compared to what we saw day one on Bitcoin. And do you think the trend continues where over the next couple months, once the selling subsides from Grayscale, we'll see that $7, $8, $9, maybe $10,000 Ethereum, very similar to what the chart looked like for Bitcoin when it went from 40,000 all the way up to a new all-time high of 70,000 over the span of a few short months. Do you think that this is in play for ETH, or do you think that the ignorance of Wall Street, they'll lose interest? What do you think about ETH product ETF?
Yeah, I do think it's in play. I'm actually pretty bullish on ETH despite the recent price action. Look, there's like $9 billion in that Grayscale ETF. We got to get through, we've got to eat through a lot of that. But ultimately, if BlackRock wants this thing to go up, they're going to shill it. And just like they've been pushing Bitcoin, and they're going to drive flows and drive money into these ETFs. And over a long period of time, or I say a long period of time, over a decent period of time, call it 3 to 12 months, you're going to see probably very positive flows into these Ethereum ETFs. We know ETH is a lower market cap asset than Bitcoin. It's going to be more volatile to both the downside and the upside. And unlike the ignorance of the TradFi space, like I actually think it works in ETH's favor. Like I don't think they have very nuanced views on Bitcoin versus ETH versus Solana. Like these are not people who have MetaMask downloaded. These are not people who have Phantom or Backpack Wallet for Solana. They don't have nuanced views on any crypto assets. They're just simply looking for crypto exposure. They're probably going to wait according to market cap size. If Ethereum's trading at a quarter of the size of Bitcoin, they'll probably go like a 75-25 allocation or like an 80-20 allocation. And even that is massive for Ethereum. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some people just say, hey, 50-50, and treat it, treat them both, semi-equally. So yeah, there's just a lot of overhang right now for ETH, and it's tough to be a buyer when Grayscale is just nuking the market. It's we saw what $3 billion worth of Bitcoin did to the Bitcoin chart from Germany selling. Now we've got like $9 billion in the Grayscale ETH ETF, which a lot of it's flowing to other Ethereum ETFs, and it's not net outflows. But you've got $9 billion into an asset that's like a quarter or a third of the size of Bitcoin. So
you think there's going to be
the
more
downside?
You think there's more
Is
downside?
going to be really rough.
Do you think there's going to be more downside in the short term in the next like 2 weeks? That's what we kind of saw out of Bitcoin, or it was like I think 10 days of net outflows.
Yeah, it was like 10 days of just straight down bleed. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably about how long it could take for a bottom to form. I don't know. Like we've already seen a pretty decent drawdown. I think the overall, the overall direction of the market here is largely going to depend on what the stock market does. Funnily enough, it's just if the stock market's kind of status quo and grinding upwards or even moving sideways, crypto's in a great spot. But as soon as the stock market starts nuking and you get those minus 2% days in the S&P 500, a couple of those strung together, it's very, very difficult for crypto to go up. So I think that's the first order of business. I think more than anything, that's what's affecting the crypto market negatively. And beyond that, we just got to get through those Grayscale flows.
What's your vibe or your outlook on Ethereum, its network, TVLs, dApps, DeFi, maybe even NFTs? What are you forecasting for Ethereum this bull market? Last bull market, we saw it was kind of the king, right? That's where all the major NFTs were. There was the smart contracts where first time people really got to play around with smart contracts and mess with DeFi. I remember using Uniswap last bull market and being like, wow, this is the future here. And obviously you got competitors now. Solana's kind of taking the spotlight as of recently. But do you hold a lot of weight on Ethereum's performance this bull market? Do you think that it's gonna kind of take a back seat to Solana, or do you think, hey man, you know what, the ETF's here and it's going to be Ethereum's turn here very soon? I'm kind of on the fence, man. I don't know what to expect out of Ethereum. I don't know if it's going to rise to its former glory with interest in dApps, or if it's going to kind of slowly take a back seat to other chains that have a lot of retail interest like Solana. What's your kind of vibe on ETH right now as far as this bull market?
Yeah, so I think you want exposure both to Solana and ETH. I'm not picking sides, one or the other. I think owning both is probably a good idea. A lot of Solana maximalists will say ETH's dead and it's not going anywhere. And ETH maximalists will say the same thing. They'll point out the outages in Solana and point out that Solana is not going anywhere. I think both are both have their merits, both have their downsides. I don't think Ethereum's going anywhere. I do think that its performance might be cannibalized a little bit by Solana, right? Or to some degree. Last cycle we saw a lot of movement onto Solana after the gas fees on Ethereum went up so high. Right now, gas fees on Ethereum have been pretty modest, not bad. But yeah, I see Solana succeeding. I see Solana onboarding a ton of retail interest. and Solana having a ton of use cases. But at the same time, Ethereum has the backing of BlackRock. Ethereum has the BlackRock sitting there trying to build real world asset use cases and tokenize assets on top of Ethereum. It's like Solana doesn't have that right now. And anybody saying that Ethereum's dead, I just think it's just very unwise when you've got one. It's like saying Bitcoin's dead. It's like, okay, well, BlackRock's pushing this ETF out to everybody. Yeah, Bitcoin's performance might not be the best in a crazy bullish, bull market. You might get a 2x out of Bitcoin from here, right? I'm not giving a price prediction, right? But like Bitcoin's not going to 15x. Ethereum probably not going to 15x. Well, it's not going to 15x, but it's like people comparing the performance, the short-term performance in a bull market of a smaller asset to a larger asset. Of course, the larger asset's usually going to perform worse, right? Ethereum's 4 times larger than Solana. Of course, the returns, in a very bullish time frame where people are piling money into both, it's not going to be as high for Ethereum. But potential downside probably not going to be as bad for Ethereum. It's just the same argument, like the Bitcoin versus ETH argument is very similar to like the ETH versus Solana argument. I think there's merits for all three.
Yeah, I think
honest.
you nailed it on the head with BlackRock's success when it comes to its with a BIDL tokenization of real world assets. Another player joining in on this tokenization as well, that's Coinbase. And so you take a look, Coinbase Asset Manager plans to tokenize money market fund in a hot area after BlackRock's BIDL success. And so to expand on our thesis on Ethereum, the base chain is a scaling solution or another chain that operates with Ethereum. So this is an Ethereum based chain base, and here you have more talks of tokenization. You got BlackRock, now you got Coinbase, the U.S.'s largest exchange, and a respected name, the obvious custodial agent for Bitcoin when it comes to, and Ethereum when it comes to the ETF. But Coinbase Asset Manager is creating a tokenized money market fund. According to 4 people familiar with the plan, tokenization of real world assets is a hot topic. BlackRock's tokenized U.S. Treasury fund quickly grabbed $500 million in assets this year. And, you have 2 people familiar with the matter said Coinbase's asset manager has been working with Bermuda-based Apex Group to help facilitate its tokenized fund. Apex services over $3 trillion of assets across its custody administration. And so you have a company that already custodies $3 trillion. Coinbase has partnered up with them. They're using their base chain, tokenized real world assets, give a run to the money for BlackRock. And what I immediately think of here is, you have an exchange that does crypto that's now branching out into traditional money market funds and tokenizing, Wall Street, right? It's kind of the opposite direction that we had from Robinhood. Remember, Robinhood offered stocks first, right? Robinhood was like, hey, here's a way to buy and sell your stocks free on this app, and we're going to advertise it to millennials. And then comes crypto, and you start off with Bitcoin and a handful of others. Now Robinhood has, I think, 18 or so different cryptos that they offer. Now we're seeing kind of the reverse from Coinbase. Hey, here we have an exchange that offers Bitcoin and then some other cryptos. And hey, you know what? Let's buy some treasuries. Let's buy some stocks and do it all natively on the blockchain, not through not through the channels that we had previously with Robinhood, for example. Just if you were around or paying attention during the last bull market, where Robinhood with the GameStop, they kept halting trading, right? Now think about this: if you're offering a product that is on the base chain, that's say decentralized, it's run through Ethereum. You would expect that, hey, it's going to operate decentrally and it's not going to be turned on and off, or if there's too much volume, I think that's kind of the benefit of using crypto, is that you're going to operate Wall Street in a decentralized manner. Now, whether or not the government will put in, uh, safeguards to facilitate control to stop the markets from selling when they deem appropriate. I think that the U.S. would step in to put in these fail safes, for them to maintain control. But I don't know. Maybe we move into this real world asset trading on blockchains, and well, it's outside the control of governments. I know that's kind of the idea behind it. Um, One, I can say that it's for sure going to operate more efficient, right? Instead of waiting 48 hours or 24 hours for a settlement on uh, stocks or T bills and things of that nature, you're going to be done instant settlement within minutes. So there's that, and then also I know you were discussing Solana, and some big news out of the Solana camp. You have uh, Palu's. This is a country. I had to do a little research. So Palu announces a launch of legal digital IDs on the Solana blockchain. So this is the first ever sovereign nation to issue legal identities on the Solana blockchain. If you're curious on where Salu is, because I was as well, it's over here. It's right by the Philippines, Indonesia, Australia. So it is a smaller nation, but doesn't really take away from the direction that we are ultimately going with blockchain and real world assets. And when we talk about real world assets, let's not forget that digital identification is digital property, right? It is who you are. It's an ID, and I think that it being stored on the blockchain, we see that we have hacks and for AT&T and all these other companies, and it being on blockchain, historically free of hacks, right? At least Bitcoin has been, and Ethereum, ever since their hard fork we're doing to ETH Classic, hasn't had um, any attacks on it or successful attacks. So, what do you think about ETH and Solana? I know we just kind of wrapped up on that, but just to circle back around, you got Coinbase, real world assets. You got Solana also issuing out identifications for a nation state. And I know you said you don't want to pick one over the other. I don't either. But I think it's more of a conviction on what we're going to see this bull market. And I think you're going to see Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana all just kind of ushering in the altcoin season, particularly ETH and Solana are going to usher in the altcoin season. And I would pay very, very, very close attention to the ecosystem projects that are tied to both of these projects. And so right now, the biggest gainer on the day for the coin market cap is Aave, a lender, the champion of DeFi out of the Ethereum ecosystem. And we've seen the meme coins rally on the Solana network. So what do you think about ETH and Solana, and kind of this big news and Coinbase and this digital identification on the Solana blockchain as well?
Yeah, so I actually think the RNS.ID digital identification of the blockchain, they actually started with ETH and they're just adding Solana functionality. So I think they were on like Polygon or Ethereum or something. Um, Not sure if they were on the base chain or not. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like there's room for multiple winners in this space. Like you can make a lot of argument for for either one, and it's kind of like Samsung versus, or not Samsung, but Android versus Apple. Like both coexist. Some people prefer one or the other. They kind of have different use cases, different target markets. I don't think like I don't think it's like if you would have just only invested in Samsung and not Apple, like you missed out on a lot of upside. From iOS and iPhone and the proliferation of Apple in that market. Right. And likewise with, if you would have only gone, fully Apple, then you've missed out on a lot of upside the Android market as well. So I think both will coexist. I think though they're the two winners at this point. I don't necessarily see a strong candidate for a third place at this moment in time. I think it's basically ETH and Solana. If
Yeah.
anything arises, you've got Tron and Binance Smart Chain, but those are just kind of like niche things that just like I don't know. I don't necessarily see them expanding
I think
at a very, very rapid
they
rate.
service a very particular market. I feel like both of those. And
Yeah.
so that market's not disappearing. So I don't think that we'll see, especially in a bull market scenario, either one of those draw down. But at the same time, I don't really, I think they have a niche market. So the upside is going to be tampered. Because I mean, how many new users are those two going to bring in? Another one that's been kind of tampered, and just to finish up on this Ethereum kind of narrative, is Polygon. So they just announced and they're rolling out the ZKVM, and so this is one of their new scaling solutions. But interestingly, this is so. I'll just kind of go over this and then give you my thoughts. So over the past year, the team has unveiled an aggregated chain architecture to infinitely scale Ethereum by horizontally connecting as many ZK powered chains as possible. So this is supposed to roll out as a scaling solution for ETH, not just something that benefits the Polygon network. So in the latest instance, the team has announced a collaboration to develop a never before produced ZKVM or ZK rollup virtual machine based on the concept that co-founder Vitalik Buterin tipped as game changer for cryptographic proof efficiency. So Polygon is set to make another ZK leap. On July 23rd, the team disclosed the prominent durable latest contributor to the aggregate layer amid plans to develop the first ever BINUS-based ZK-VM for the ecosystem. So they're touting this as an absolute game changer. And from what I kind of took away, maybe I missed the mark there, but from what I took away is that if this rolls out as anticipated, it's supposed to offer unlimited scaling for Ethereum. Now, I'm sure it's through Polygon of some sort, and maybe the gas fees on ETH still remain high for base layer transactions, but I feel like it's got to add some kind of remedy to the base layer. And so will it help transactions? I think it's a natural progression of what we would see for innovation in crypto. And the thought that, hey, ETH is going to be like Bitcoin and always have, a certain transaction fee, only handle X amount of transactions. No, here we have Polygon, their new ZK rollup done on natively as a virtual machine on ETH. Supposedly it's supposed to scale infinitely for Ethereum. Pretty damn bullish. And what is I won't go back to ETH here, but what's your kind of vibe on Polygon? Now, Polygon's been very interesting to kind of take a look at on a chart at least. It was probably the first altcoin to rally this bull market, and then it really just kind of consolidated, actually lost a lot against Bitcoin recently. Very underwhelming as far as its token price. But are you holding a lot of faith on another run on Polygon this bull market, or do you think that it's kind of taking a back seat to other scaling solutions?
Yeah. So the problem with Polygon and like other layer twos is they're just all competing for the same user base, right? So you have like Solana that's like very user friendly, has a lot of applications being built on it, and it's the sole benefactor of all the users that it attracts. Polygon, on the other hand, is competing for the Ethereum user base, and that's the problem with a lot of layer twos. And why you see like layer two underperformance is like not only is like a lot of the user base getting poached by Solana from the you look at the entire Ethereum ecosystem. They're also poaching each other and cannibalizing each other and fractionalizing their own user base. So that's from an investment perspective, like one of the big issues that I have with investing in layer two tokens, especially in a bullish market when people's retail's attention is on meme coins right now. They're not really excited about investing in utility coins or infrastructure coins anymore. Also, you've got like all these infrastructure tokens, and layer two is just like VCs have massive bags and they just continually dump. So, it's nothing against Polygon in particular. It's just like I don't necessarily think the token itself makes a great investment. And I'd say the same thing about Arbitrum, the Optimism, and all these other L2 tokens. But as far as like Polygon goes, as far as the chain and what they're building, like yeah, it's pretty inspiring. It's pretty bullish. Like they've got a really big app on it right now called Polymarket. It's a prediction betting market that is just crushing it right now, and that's built on Polygon. I've used it; it's solid, it works, and yeah, it's great.
So
But
you're not really trying to accumulate any Polygon at this point. You're kind of favoring some other major projects, because when I look at like top 20, Polygon just isn't in that I must accumulate more zone, right, or token. I feel like the competition in that range is, I think Internet Computer, Caspa, there's a lot of projects in a similar market cap as Polygon. I think have a lot more upside, and I think you kind of nail it on the head as the competition, right? There's just a lot of other scaling solutions that, well, are probably taking away from the returns that you would expect from Polygon. I'm glad you brought up memes. Now I know there's been one new meme in discussion lately, or one that kind of broke into the scenes as Cat in a Dog's World, also known as Mew, which is a Solana based meme coin, up 86% for the week, absolutely crushing it. Here you have an article. So meme whiff and Solana meme coins soar amid increasing network activity. And so, also, so you got the Solana ecosystem. Also, Dogecoin has 6.6 million holders now, compares to Shiba Inu and XRP. One thing that we've seen with these meme coins when it comes to pullbacks in the market, particularly Bitcoin, is that we usually get more of a leveraged play out of memes. And we've seen like Bonk and Dog with Hat. Those have pulled back a lot more aggressively when Bitcoin has, but we haven't seen that this little pullback. And I know we went from 67,000, to what is 65 now, so it's nothing too dramatic. But no, I think the memes are holding pretty strong right now. What do you think about the memes, the meme ecosystem? What do you think about Solana's meme ecosystem? Dogecoin, I know you're kind of bullish on that. What's kind of your forecast here in the next 30 days on meme coins and maybe even further out?
yeah, I think it's like you said, it's just a leverage play on Bitcoin and ETH and Solana's performance, right? Right now, like I have zero interest in the utility plays outside maybe XRP. XRP's pretty solid recently. It's been outperforming. But yeah, I think you've got Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana, and then outside of that, like your meme coin beta on those networks. Very little interest from retail and anything else. And it's because people are just getting tired of getting dumped on by VCs. Like why buy a VC utility coin? Like why buy a DEX token or whatever, a token that's taken all this funding from VCs that, those VCs have to get their money back and eventually dump. Or, you buy a meme coin that was fully distributed or airdropped and is like, doesn't have VCs behind it, you're just not going to get dumped on as hard, by insiders. I mean, yeah, there's still insider activity in meme coins, but it's just a pure, speculative, attention market, right? If Solana and they're pretty correlated to the chains that they're on, right? Like if Solana does, if Solana goes up, you're probably going to see Whiff and Bonk and Mew do well. So it's pretty easy to just like bet on those three as leverage bet on instead of longing Solana. If you're bullish on Ethereum, like you're probably going to see Pepe do really well as one of the largest meme coins on Ethereum. If you're bullish on Bitcoin, you're probably going to see Dogecoin do well as bait on Bitcoin. But yeah, like I think in the bad times they'll underperform pretty horrendously, but in the good times they'll perform and have great upside. It's just a matter of capturing them at the right moment.
And I know you said you're bullish on XRP. We did see a golden cross appear on XRP. I'm not exactly sure what time frame it was, but this is one of the articles I was scanning through this morning. Golden cross appears on XRP price chart, and this is per Nico 369K on X, and so. What do you think about the XRP chart? I know that's something that we discussed last week and something that you're pretty bullish on. Do you still in that camp that you think there's going to be a large breakout, or that it's kind of flashing that signal? Do you put much into golden cross on XRP?
Yeah. Do you want me to pull up the chart or just kind of talk to it a little bit?
Yeah, you can pull up the chart. Yeah, we'll take a peek at XRP.
Cool. I'll share my screen here. Yeah, so like the thing with XRP is just like on the high time frames, right? You just have this huge wind up. So this is just bullish pennant, symmetric triangle, whatever you want to call it. This is on the 3-day chart, and yeah, you just have like pretty clear resistance long term here at 75 cents. I think above 75 cents, this is just like very bullish. For it to kind of reclaim that range and push above it. It's currently at 60 cents right now. And, it was one of the coins that fired the hardest off of the bottom out of like top 10 coins. And it just seems to be getting a strong bid right now. Despite, I'll kind of overlay, for example, maybe we'll overlay ETH, which has kind of not been performing great, but you see like where this is just kind of like decorrelated, where XRP has been pretty strong and like not crashing super hard, and XRP's been down quite a bit. Even if we pull up Bitcoin, right? So we pull up Bitcoin, like XRP here has just been holding up in this like 59 to 60 cent range really well. We'll see if it holds up here as we're kind of like crashing across the market right now, particularly the stock market, going back negative on the day after being positive 1%. So pretty big round trip there. But yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's kind of spilling over recently, and XRP just trying to hold strong here. So just whenever you see relative strength like that versus, Bitcoin or versus the market as a whole, usually means that people are more reluctant to sell. They're more eager to buy. And that's generally just means the underlying asset's bullish. So I think this is something that has a ton of upside if the market from here turns upwards. Otherwise, of course, I think like pretty much everything's just going to continue to get washed out if we don't see a turnaround here soon. It's been a pretty rough couple of days across the board.
I think it's all going to change on Saturday. I think that this announcement that we're expecting from Donald Trump, his speech, I think, once again, man, I can't emphasize it enough. Going from, hey, here's a quick thought, here's a sentence on Bitcoin, I'm gonna just drop at a rally, to, hey, I'm gonna have an entire keynote speech prepared, teleprompter, really trying to rally these 50 million crypto wallets that are here in the United States, potential voters, swing states, and so yeah, I can't wait, man. And speaking of that, I can't wait. Well, I do gotta get on a plane, do gotta go. So it's gonna kind of wrap it up for today. I do want to thank you, Forrest, for joining us. Was there any parting words you wanna leave us with? Anything you're expecting this weekend?
Just survive here. Don't use too much leverage. Just just keep it just survive until we can see some upside here. I mean, I think once Bitcoin breaks all-time highs, or once we get a strategic reserve announcement, it'll all break loose.
I'm not big into leverage trading, but I'm telling you, I'm thinking about putting a position in on Saturday, man. A long position, of course, because I think the market is underestimating what's going to happen if Donald Trump goes full degen on crypto and the U.S. position on it. So with that said, we're going to wrap this thing up and corral us out of here. And so we're going to lasso us out of here. And with that said, thank you so much to the production team back there. Y'all gonna miss me when I'm in Nashville? No, not gonna miss me. All right, well, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be putting out content from the convention tomorrow, also Saturday, so make sure you stay tuned. We'll be live streaming somewhere in Nashville. I don't know if it's a hotel room or on the floor of convention, but stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for all of the breaking news from Sin City Crypto down there on location. And if you're in Nashville, come by and say what up.
Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors they gonna teach us. Mean coins, they polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin, and sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.